I used to take my dog for a walk every evening. Frankly, he's old and needs to be exercised to keep his joints from stiffening up. The thing is, Duke's not very eager to go like he used to be. At first, I attributed the reluctance to his advanced years, but now I know the truth. In the early part of summer, it stays daylight for much longer. Because it's still very warm in the evening, I'd wait until dusk before taking him. Duke didn't mind. He can see just fine at night. Truthfully, all he wanted to do was sniff tall weeds and leave his calling card for other dogs to recognize. He didn't care if the walk took place at 3 a.m. or 3 p.m. His reluctance was actually not related to when we walked, but where. At the time, I couldn't understand his unusually high level of agitation and restlessness. Now I do. A large stretch of roadway is desolate and surrounded by Georgia pines and tall southern hardwoods on both sides. I'd seen several pairs of lights shining in the woods, but at the time, it was just mild curiosity. When I mentioned it to Granddad, he suggested that they were just fireflies congregating in the forest. I didn't see how this could be. What I saw was fixed horizontal pairs like sets of glowing animal eyes. I know that deer herds and all manner of wildlife dwell in that thicket. I presumed we were just being observed by some ordinary creatures of the forest. That is, until these glowing eyes turned a menacing shade of red. Suddenly it went from unexplained to downright spooky. Granddad said that neither fireflies nor raccoon eyes could do that. He even went so far to strongly hint that I was either imagining things or ribbing him. I took great umbrage to that. I countered his dismissive explanation by inviting him to join me the next time I walked the dog. Then he could see for himself. He hemmed and hawed a few minutes but reluctantly accepted. He was like Duke in a lot of ways. He may have needed the exercise, but he wasn't very eager to do it. To his credit, when the time came, he fetched his old cane and joined Duke and I at the door. The first part of the trip was uneventful. There are a couple homes clustered together at the edge of the woods, but the trees around them are very sparse. We saw nothing unusual until later on. Lightning bugs were out in full force, but they are easily distinguished. They float and flash around in the open air looking for mates. What I wanted him to see was significantly different. They didn't move or flash. These glowing sets of eyes held their position and seemed to follow our progress as we walked by. More than anything else, I was elated that when Granddad finally saw them too. There was no denying what I had told him anymore. "Boy," he stated, "those definitely aren't firefly lights. I apologize for doubting you. I have no doubt that they belong to some large night creature looking directly at us, watching our every move. Definitely not deer, not coons, or a bobcat, though. It's way too big to be any of those critters. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm hoping it's some sort of bear, because if they don't, then we've got an even bigger problem on our hands. Bears will usually leave you alone if they aren't hungry or feeling threatened. Those eyes are way too big to belong to anything else I can think of." I was only mildly concerned before, but that was before witnessing Granddad's reaction. He was genuinely concerned. Heck, maybe even afraid. He was my rock, and when something rattled him, I took careful notice. He wasn't the only one either. Duke was highly agitated by whatever he sensed nearby too. The two of them combined to make for a very convincing argument to be afraid. "I have a flashlight in my pocket," Granddad whispered cautiously. "Against my better judgment, I'm going to point it towards the woods and see if I can see the devil that's watching us. If the answer to our curiosity turns out to be as serious as I suspect, I want you to promise me something. Promise me that you'll run as fast as you can until you're back safely home. I'm going to act as a distraction so you and Duke can make it back. Don't waste my efforts in trying to save me. Do you understand? Tell your granny and mama I love them. I love you too, boy." I started to protest. He held up his hands. When he did that, I knew it was pointless to do anything but agree. I was terrified at the unspoken implications. What did he expect to see in that beam of light? I didn't want to abandon him, but I knew he'd never be able to run away. He was willing to sacrifice himself to save me if the necessity rose. I hoped his concern was unjustified, but the fear of Granddad's eyes was palpable and very contagious. Without a moment to pause, he flickered on the switch and aimed it directly at the pair of huge red eyes. What I saw stunned me. The light focused on a terrifying beast lurking behind one of the oak trees. There were actually several of them. I'd never seen anything like it. They were neither beast nor man, and darn near twice the size. "Run!" Granddad screamed. To my utter disbelief, he actually charged directly at the unknown things crouching past the tree line. After a split second of hesitation, I did exactly as he commanded. Duke and I took off running back towards the house. I heard the unmistakable sound of a big tussle in the woods behind me. Undoubtedly, the lurking creatures never expected Granddad to charge at them with a blinding beam of light. It was a brilliant but doomed strategy, and the bravest thing I've ever witnessed. I know in my heart he saved our lives at the precious cost of his own. I've repeated this story to my family members and sheriff numerous times. They combed the area with a team of search dogs but came up empty-handed. The dogs became too agitated and overstimulated. I'm not surprised. The ground was rife with their scent and droppings. I know Granddad put up one hell of an uneven fight to save Duke and I. He always was my rock. Now he's my hero.